Power 7 Podcast. It's your boy, the Almighty Nicodemus, back in effect on another blessed morning as we proceed to another blessed day. Peace to Omega 7 family. I went home. Now I'm back home. I went home and now I'm back home. So dig, right? Today's topic is Drake hip-hop or pop? And my answer to that question is Drake is hip-hop. Now, I'm not a Drake fan. I'm not big on Drake. I am a Yasin Bey, formerly known as Mos Def. I am a fan of him, a big fan, but I don't agree with him on this topic. I do believe that Drake is hip-hop. He makes hip-hop songs. He makes pop songs. He makes mainstream commercial rap music. And rap music, hip-hop music, is an element of the hip-hop culture, and Drake does make hip-hop music. Now, he's mainstream. Drake is mainstream, a commercial mainstream rapper. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I get everything. I get everything that Mos Def, y'all seen. I get everything that he was saying about his music. But the reality is, that's what hip hop is now. Hip hop became that around 1997. Hip hop became, mainstream music. It started becoming mainstream music. They started pouring money into it. Because if Drake isn't hip-hop, that means Puffy ain't hip-hop, Lil Jon ain't hip-hop, T.I. ain't hip-hop. There's so many people you can cross off the list and say they not hip-hop. I asked somebody to give me a definition of why Drake music wasn't hip-hop music. They told me he didn't put anybody on. So I asked the question, he put nobody on? He didn't co-sign nobody, he didn't sign nobody, he didn't give people opportunities even if they were writing for him? So their rebuttal to that was, well, the people he co-signed to put on are detrimental to the youth. So that's not, that's not hip-hop. I'm like, okay, that what we doing then? And then again, if that's the case, that doesn't make him hip-hop music, then we need to get rid of a whole lot of people. A whole lot of people gotta go. A whole lot of people gotta be taken off the who's hip-hop and who's not. Because there's a lot of artists that came out when I was young that are detrimental to the youth. Hell, they were detrimental to me. So, if that's the answer we giving, if that's what we doing, then there's a whole lot of artists we gotta get rid of. So, I'm sorry. I do think and believe that Drake is hip-hop. Now, from what he's saying, that applies, that theory of things that he's saying, like, well, Drake makes music to where, you go to a Target and go shopping too, and they'll be playing it. That applies to everybody. That applies to a lot of music, even from the 70s and 80s. That applies. You can say those people, you're going to say Grover Washington isn't jazz music, because his music get played in elevators and it got played in grocery stores. So Al Jarreau, all these type of people, is that not jazz? When jazz artists got mad at Miles Davis for making his Witch's Brew album, when that came out, people were like, what is this? Did that not make him not a jazz musician anymore because of what he made? I used to be one of those people that used to be like, man, such and such, this ain't hip-hop, such and such ain't hip-hop. I used to say that a lot, years ago. And as I got older, I was like, you can't tell anybody how to express themselves the way they want to. And I do believe Drake participates in the genre that we call hip-hop, When I first heard Drake, which was like 2000, 2009 or maybe 2010 when I first heard him. You know, I felt like he was good. And he was in a category with some cats that came out around that time, like J. Cole, Kendrick, Pat Div, the Cool Kids. You know, these guys came out and they had a essence that kind of had a thing from the 90s, but they weren't sounding dated or trying to sound like they were from the 90s. But you can tell that these guys were a student of the game. And in my opinion, Drake was one of those guys that was a student of the game. Now, some people can argue that Drake is an industry player, so he can't be hip hop, and that would be a valid argument because he was an actor, so he was already in the industry by being an actor. So that does give you a leg up over most people who are just trying to make it from the ground up. But once again, my rebuttal to that is like if you go back and listen to him in his early stages, before he actually found his voice when he teamed up with Young Money, you know, you can hear the brother is a student. Like, he's a student of the game. He's a student of the game. He understands hip-hop. He understands the history of hip-hop. You can hear it when he raps. You know, for him to be a pop star, I ain't never known no pop star to battle with actual true MCs. This man done battled Common. This man done battled Meek Mill, who was a battle rapper. You know, he battled Pusha T. He do shots at Kanye. When are pop artists, you know, all of a sudden battling MCs with good reputations? I'm talking about reputable MCs. So to sit up here and act like that brother ain't hip hop, man, I believe it's a real discredit to him. Now, if you don't like his music, don't like his music. I don't care for a lot of his music. I definitely don't care for the form when he sings. But I wouldn't say he's not hip-hop. It's 2024. He came out maybe 2008, 2010. Hip-hop ain't always going to be DJ Premier and Pete Rock beats. You know? So if there's anybody out there that want to comment in this podcast and let me know what makes Drake not hip-hop, I'm all ears. Because I don't see anything that says he's not hip-hop. Because if he's not hip-hop, that means Lauryn Hill ain't hip-hop. Because she sung more on her debut solo album than she did rapping. When she did her MTV Unplugged, all she did is sing with an acoustic guitar. So is she not hip-hop now? I believe people pick and choose who they want to say represents hip-hop, and it's usually based on people's own personal taste. That's usually all it comes down to. Well, I don't like this, so that ain't hip-hop. You know? If Drake ain't hip-hop, you might as well go and say UGK ain't hip-hop neither. And that's because Pimp C said they wasn't hip-hop. Pimp C said, hey man, this ain't no hip-hop, this is country rap tunes. You know? MC Hammer, he said he ain't hip-hop. He took the MC off his name. I don't know why I'm calling him MC Hammer. His name is Hammer. He dropped the MC. He picked it back up, but he dropped it in one time. It was like, I'm not that. I'm an entertainer. I'm a star. I'm pop music. He said that himself. I haven't heard Drake come out and proclaim himself, I'm not hip-hop. You know? So I believe a lot of people just saying that, man, just because they don't care for his music, or they don't care for him, or they don't care for mainstream music. You know? But hip-hop becoming mainstream was eventually going to happen. It had to happen. It had to be the music that you hear in Target, Walmart. It was going to have to happen. It's only 50 years old. And it's the mainstream music of the 2000s. It became the mainstream music, so it was going to become pop music, whether you liked it or not. The only way hip-hop was not going to become pop music if it would just stay strictly independent and probably stay strictly in New York with nothing but New York artists doing it. You know, like I said, you know, rap music, MCing is an element of hip-hop. Now, if you want to take it away and be like, well, I ain't seen no DJs, I heard no scratching or nothing on none of his records, I ain't seen nobody breakdancing in his videos or making tag murals. If that's what you want to justify, use to justify and say he not hip-hop, so be it. But if that's what you're going to do, that means you're going to have to eliminate a lot of other artists take them off the hip hop list and say they're not hip hop. But this is an age-old conversation, man, that goes back to the early jazz era, when they used to say who wasn't jazz and who was jazz because they weren't following a certain template or what they saw fit. You know, you can't put people's artistic expression in a box. And once you put that art and make it a commodity, make it a product, does it no longer exist from what the art is? Because if that's the case, there's so many hip-hop artists that ain't hip-hop. They're just rappers. They ain't hip-hop at all. And I mean, that's a long laundry list. As soon as you start selling your music to make a living, it becomes a product. So is all hip-hop music that's sold commercially not a product? Because if that's the case, Black Star is not hip-hop. Because they sell their music. Is KRS-One not hip-hop because he rap and write commercials? That's what I want. Is Ice Cube and Wu-Tang Clan not hip-hop because they sold St. Ives beer? You know, there's a lot of people you're going to have to look at and take off the hip-hop list if it's about because they selling a product. Y'all, like I said, I understand where y'all see what's coming from because, hey, you know, it can come off artificial. It can come off void of human emotion sometimes. You know, and I don't think all of his music lacks human emotion. I do believe some of his music is definitely a formula. And I think he had to find that formula first. And once he found out it worked, he rolled with it. Because he was trying to sell. He was trying to be the best. You know? Eminem got a whole formula. Once he found his formula and what worked and what he saw sold. And I think Drake make better music than Eminem. I think he's not, I wouldn't call him a better rapper, but I would say his music is better. But, you know, that's just my take and my look on that whole conversation. Is Drake hip-hop, Drake not hip-hop. And, you know, y'all can take it in. If there's anybody that want to comment, yo, drop a comment. You know, like, subscribe, check me out. I'm always coming with something. And I like to hear any of my listeners' thoughts and views on what I just dropped. Any topic I drop. And once again, Power 7 Podcast, Almighty Nicodemus. Peace.